Hello, everyone. We are so excited that you could join some of us Instructure Advocates today for our favorite Canvas tools to increase your work efficiency, because let's face it, none of us have a lot of time. I'm Diana Knox. I'm a technology instructional specialist from Clay Community Schools in Brazil, Indiana. This is our 7th year with Canvas, and I serve as the Canvas administrator in our district. And I'm here actually to learn a lot too, because there's still so much I can learn from everyone.
And I'm Andrea. I'm Andrea Earle. I'm a certificated learning and achievement specialist in Santa Ana, California. I'm a Canvas certified educator and Canvas advocate, and a Canvas admin for my district.
Awesome. Hey, my name is Chris Giles, Canvas admin for a long time, Canvas advocate with these wonderful people, certified as Canvas certified educator and technical admin. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to facilitate those Canvas courses. So if you're interested and should I take them? They're awesome.
Hi, I'm Phil Jaros. I'm coming from Buffalo, New York, and my district's been with Canvas since 2018. I'm a Canvas certified educator and advocate, and love all things Canvas and Instructure.
Look at that. I love the Instructure shout out too, Phil. Well done. Brad Moser. I used to work for Blue Valley School District, and then prior to that, Belton. I implemented Canvas in both of those as the admin, and I fell in love. And so I still love it. I currently work for City Labs, which installs design tools into Canvas, but Canvas is my jam. Like, it's my jam. And so fun to be here and talk all things Canvas today.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jessica Gutierrez. I am with St. Lucie Public Schools in Florida. I am the Canvas admin for my district. I'm also, among these wonderful people, a Canvas advocate as well. And I've been in education 16 years, but as a Canvas admin for 5.
Everybody, I am Sean Newfer, and I've been using Canvas since 2011, and I oversaw our institution migrating from another unnamed LMS into the environment that is Canvas. And I also have a channel on YouTube, How to Canvas. If you want to learn some design tips and tricks, then I have a few videos that you can watch over there.
Awesome. So we're so excited to be here today. And if you have questions, as anybody's sharing and talking, we're going to be trying to monitor the chat. So please throw them in there and we'll do our best to get you an answer. We're hoping that this will be right around an hour. So we're going to go with the first advocate that has some fun tips to share. And we're going to turn the stage over to Andrea.
Well, thank you so much. So I'm going to start by talking about some trips to streamline your workflow. So I'm in K-12, and in K-12, we use a lot of the same types of lessons over and over and over again. So I'm going to encourage you to create lesson templates. So for example, we use Notice and Wonder a lot. You give the students a picture, they write down what they notice, what they wonder. And by using the simple template, all I've got to do is duplicate it and change out the picture. So my lesson creation is like that. I've included a heading, a little design line, the text, and I even have the submission type already ready to go. Templates are a great way to streamline your workflow. Just want to show you a couple more quick. You can have assignment templates, page templates. One of the secrets, though, is when you duplicate them from the assignments index page or from the pages index page rather than from your module. And then add them to your module second. We also have this watch and respond template. And as the Canvas admin for my district, I actually push these all out to teachers. So it's really fun when I'm working with a teacher and see them using these. Here we have a very simple think, watch, and do. Saves a lot of time on the teacher end. The second thing I want to show you is how you can streamline your workflow by organizing your modules and using naming conventions. So the first course I'm going to share is an asynchronous course. And you can see every module is numbered. I use that, I don't even know what that straight line is called, above the backward slash. And then a heading that I don't write unit number or module number because it's very obvious here. But then inside the module, oh, I should say 0 module is always the introduction, the introductory material. But then inside the module, I use text headers to kind of chunk the content because otherwise it can get very long. But then I number every single page or assignment in order, whether there's something for participants to complete or not. This makes it very easy when I'm working with someone and they need help with 1.4, I need to refer them to a particular module. I can just say, or a particular page, I can just say, go check out 1.5, and it's very easy. I've added some emojis as visual clues, so they know that's where they can find a video. I also add an emoji of a pencil so that they know that's something that they need to complete. Just these visual clues can help make your course run more smoothly. Now, in my asynchronous courses, obviously my modules in order, 1 through whatever, and I did chunk for my day 2. This was actually an in-person course, but still it's a professional development course. But I want to show you a 7th grade math course. This teacher is chunking her modules by week because in math she gives quite a few assignments during the week, as you can see. But she's labeled her weeks by the week number. And this is something that they do as a school so that every single teacher is on the same week. So she's got week 23, which is February 5th through 9th. She has her template, which has the days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, using text headers. But then inside the module, every single assignment is numbered. So she's got 23.1, 23.2. You might be wondering why this is 23.1 again, because it's the same exact assignment as this one. And so on and so forth. By numbering your modules and then numbering every single assignment in your modules, it's going to make it much easier for your students to know where they're going and where they need to be, and for you to go back. Nothing worse than a student saying, oh, I need help with that homework. Well, which one? Oh, you know, the one on fractions. Well, which one? Oh, I need help on 22.4. Ah, it's very easy for me to help you now. So just a couple things to make your Canvas life a little bit easier.
Hey, Andrea, while you were talking, we had a couple questions
Sure.
about a specific reason why maybe we don't want to duplicate from a module and we choose to do it in the assignments page.
Well, so assignments can be duplicated in the module, but pages can't. So if you notice here, this teacher has the error analysis. This is a page.
Andrea, I think it's now updated. I think they can do it now.
Oh, you know what? I just saw it. That's so funny because that's, you know, one of my favorite things about Canvas is they are super responsive and things keep changing. Look, it's now here. You can duplicate.
Agreed. I think Shara was shouting out in the chats like,
yay.
Tell us more.
That's so funny.
But hey, I just want to clarify. I'm pretty sure you still cannot duplicate assignments that use LTIs, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's kind of an important component to just remember, but I love this.
And teachers tend, I don't know, normally I create from the modules menu. That's my favorite place to create from. But if I don't have the template in a module already, if I haven't used it yet, that's when you don't want to bring in the template to your module. Does that make sense?
Right.
I think that's what
Andrea, to that point, in our district, we had a module that was a template module for the teachers that had a couple other of the templates that they may use, a page or an assignment. And then they're already in the module page, kind of like you're saying, because a lot of people like to, let me put it where it's going to live for the rest of its, life in the course. So there's a tip for you.
Yep. There you go. I also push out, as the Canvas admin, I push out 2 module setups, one being the daily and one being by unit. And so a lot of teachers just choose to use these instead of recreating the wheel every single time. So those are 2 of my favorite tips. And yeah, moving on to Brad and Chris.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Chris and I have a couple tips I think we're going to throw at you guys. And so, Diana, yeah, it looks like you got this, the screen sharing. So we're going to talk about Speedgrader, some Speedgrader and Speedy tips here. So the first thing we have is we're in a discussion, and we have a submission here thank you, Zach Morris. And I didn't use ChatGPT to write that submission from Zach. I didn't do that. So we're on a Canvas discussion. The students submitted it. And as the teacher, we can go into Speedgrader from an assignment or a discussion, a graded discussion, very quickly by just opening the little settings here for discussions and saying, hey, go to Speedgrader. Like, let's go to this thing. And so I think I already have it loaded here. So we're in Speedgrader. Let's toggle over to Zach Morris here. And now inside of Speedgrader, we've done a couple things. One, we're going to drag this bar open or close to get a little bit more real estate on the side. Two, I can see all of Zach's submissions that Zach has posted or replied in one stream. And so that's very helpful to just kind of see how much participation, what's Zach commenting, what's he saying in the comments. And then over on the right-hand side of Speedgrader, if you're not familiar with Speedgrader, you get the preview of the submission, and then you get the where you actually do the scoring and the feedback. And so a couple options that are here. This lets me control what's being displayed in terms of the grade. This button here lets me score the rubric that we have attached to this. It's pretty quick and simple. It's very speedy. Thanks for the name Speedgrader. Here's a tip: if you do select a number that you don't want that to be scored anymore, you need to change the score, you can just click another score, or you select it again and it will deselect your selection. Say that 3 times fast. And then when you're ready to score that, you hit save, and that will update the Speedgrader points. And since this rubric is being used, I know it says not for grading, but I changed it afterwards. It's going to upgrade the score as well.
Hey, Brad, when you're working in Speedgrader, is there a way that teachers can use like short keyboard shortcuts to make it kind of a little more faster?
Yeah. So what are some of those that what's the shortcuts you love? Give me a shortcut.
If I'm a teacher, where do I find those shortcuts?
Yeah. So if you come up to the left-hand side here, there's the settings cog. You can adjust your options, but you can find some shortcuts that really make operating, right, scoring, grading, giving students feedback quickly. So you can use J for the next student. So you score it and hit J, you'll get the next student, previous student. So that's the JK options. If you want to jump to the comment section, we hit C. If you need to jump to the grade section to change it, you hit G and you press R to open up the rubric. And so here I just hit R, it opened my rubric so I can adjust the grade and I can save that. And then I can hit J to jump to the next student. Notice that now I'm looking at the next student. In my example, it's the test student. And so very quickly, you can jump between students and see that Screech Powers has not submitted. Lisa, let's go. Kelly, I thought you were straight A's. Chris, the other thing that's cool is right here, when you click on the drop down, you can filter by section. So you only see those sections if you have a cross-listed Canvas course. And then the other thing that's awesome, this is my favorite, and Phil, I don't know if I'm stealing some of your power when we talked about rubrics, when we talked about Speedgrader, but this gives you an indication that I have graded this. This one needs to be graded. And what I really love, going back to options, I really love sorting Speedgrader. I love sorting my Speedgrader, not alphabetically, but actually by submission status. So there are a couple options here: date submitted or submission status. Guys, if I can convince you, this is the favorite. Why? Who? Come on, advocates. Why is this our favorite? Why is this our favorite?
I feel like I've just gained 10 minutes every single time I have to go back and assess or score student work by using the shortcuts, and Brad, by sorting my grading by submission.
I love grading by submission. Pops those ones I need to look at right to the top. No long scrolling.
So when you do that,
time too.
It's speedy, right? It saves time. And if we can save moments of time for teachers, now they have time to do what it is that they want to do, something else that was really important. So that's a huge tip. The other thing we were going to talk about in Speedgrader is when you're commenting. So the Speedgrader has a comment library. So those tips that you're constantly repeating yourself on. Check your grammar, watch your structure. Love it. Great job. I love the learning here. You can pop open a comment library by clicking on this little toggle. This one has a little 6 because I have 6 comments in there. And I can I can quickly drop one of my comments into the comment field. So the other thing is, yes, you can use emojis in your comment library and drop those in. So this is really nice. I suggest turning on the little toggle that says, show my library when I'm typing. So if I start to type that same comment over and over, it'll just automatically populate it for you. So you can, include that in the comment library. So thank you, Canvas, for some quick comments. Comment library.
Hey, and Brad, real quickly, I don't know if you have time real fast, but you had mentioned, I think you had a couple of students who didn't turn in their work. What's the fastest way for teachers to kind of comment back to those students who have not submitted their work?
That's a great question.
Let's go back to the gradebook. I think I go back to the gradebook and use that message students who.
Yep. So we're back in the gradebook, and we can see I have a couple good examples here. They've already turned in, but I have several students that haven't. And so when you come to your gradebook, your traditional gradebook, there's 3 dots here next to each assignment. And this is where you can come in and message your students who, in this case, a couple options, haven't submitted yet is what you asked for. My students haven't submitted. So how do I message it? Let me message the students who haven't submitted yet. You can get a preview of those who haven't submitted if you needed to. Maybe AC Slater, like I've already given him a verbal, like, hey, you can do that later. I'm going to pull him off this list just so I don't have to, harass him. And then I can message students who. Now, I wish this had a link to the assignment right here. So what I typically will do is I grab the URL from that assignment when I'm doing that. Yo, guys, yo, gang, right? Like, please submit this assignment. And I put the link in there too, just to make it a little easier for them. And then you hit send. And now I just sent 4, messages to those individually. It's not a group message. They each individually got the message. And then I can, message those students. So
yeah. Can you go back to that screen just real fast? So the message to students have, and this is a shout out to those districts like our district where we've really intentionally loaded observers. So right there where it'll say students and observers. So in a school district where you've loaded observers or you've connected them some way, the folks, the guardians, the parents will also receive that same message. And so I feel like this feature is definitely my top 5 favorite features.
Yeah, absolutely. Along with the one right below it, right? Or right 2 below it, set default grade. Give everyone, 15 out of 15 and be done with it, right? If you need to. So that's a good heavy hitter. Awesome. Any other things on the rubric sorting we kind of talked about? We didn't say the video comments, but that's awesome. Can we pivot over to outcomes and rubrics? So if we can jump over here, we're going to jump over to change gears a little bit. You saw in my rubric that we had some criteria and we had a couple. Let me actually go back to that. In the rubric for that activity, we had a couple, what Canvas calls outcomes. And so notice in my rubric here, I have some criterion, which are just basically just fields for me to kind of track and keep track of for my students and give them feedback. And then right here, I have another field that's called an outcome. This is a standard. These can be created at the course level, or better yet, you create these at the district level, and then you pull in district level standards into your course so you can score them using the rubric here, which is super fast, super easy to score. So I'm going to show you the page. This is actually for Canvas admins. And actually, this is the same view if you were in a course. I've actually loaded these outcomes, these standards at the district level. And so you can see you can create groups of outcomes. And inside those groups of outcomes, you can create further groups of outcomes. And in those groups, you then have your individual outcomes. These outcomes can be or have 5 or 6 different ways that they can be scored. In this case, we're using the decayed average method for scoring, but there are a lot of options when you score outcomes. If I just hit edit, you can see some of the options to adjust this. I'm going to jump down here to the calculation method, and just you can see the various methods for scoring the outcome itself. And so outcomes are standards. Standards get loaded into a course, and the way that you score an outcome is you add it to an assignment via a Canvas rubric. And so as we had in our assignment earlier, so let's see, this is here's an assignment. Here's the rubric attached to the bottom of this. And when you get into the rubric, right down here, you'll find outcome. And this is where you can search for outcomes that are loaded into your course and pull in the outcome and add it or attach it to the rubric. Here's the tip though. You can use outcomes for scoring the assignment itself, or you can uncheck this box and have the outcome attached to a rubric that will score in the Learning Mastery gradebook, but it doesn't actually impact the score for that assignment itself. So I want you to kind of wrap your head around that. This is a huge check mark here that you decide when you're creating your rubric if this outcome will impact the assignment score right here, the points, or if it's only going to impact the Learning Mastery gradebook.
And Brad, from my experience, for myself too, I use a task-specific rubric. Like, here's a rubric I'm specifically looking for when you complete these types of tasks or things that I need to happen in the course. But then I add an overall outcome to it. So I say how you did overall, and then I type in the outcome score on the total. So very powerful.
Kind of like you have here, like this is the lab report structure, right? Like just overall, 4, close, whatever. And then I have these actual outcomes that are scoring for the mastery of the report. There's a couple other cool settings down here. For example, you can trump that little check mark I just made. I just showed you about. You can trump that by not sending your outcome results to the Learning Mastery gradebook. And for those that haven't seen the Learning Mastery gradebook, what that looks like, you have to enable it at the course level. Your sub-account admins would have to also give you access to enable it. But basically, you click the drop down in the gradebook, and you can go to the Learning Mastery side. And this is where you will see those outcomes that have been scored for each individual student. And so you can see the whole class as a whole. You can see the average as the class as a whole. And then you can drill into each individual student and view the individual outcomes in the Learning Mastery tab for that student. So here's an example that I've scored for Zach here. I've given him 2 different grades, one for the lab and one for a discussion where I've scored that outcome. So there's a lot there. The main piece was is adding outcomes and then scoring outcomes via the rubric, which is used. I'm happy to connect for those of you that are doing outcome scoring, and it's a whole world, right, of creating these. But yes, you can load these up into your instance using a CSV. So it takes a lot of time. Instead of having to write them all out, you can pull from documents you already have of the outcomes, massage it a little bit so you can dump it into Canvas. So.
And I would suggest for anybody who's asking about outcomes as individual teachers, I would say talk to your IT admin team, because loading outcomes at a district level is far more beneficial than teachers loading outcomes per course. Because in the end, as courses go by and courses get archived, the next year's courses get loaded up. And it's just much easier and less to have to track for those teachers.
Yep, absolutely. How are we doing?
I had a question.
Yeah.
Do you ever use the range option within rubrics?
Great question. And guys, I'm going to go with, I don't love the range option. So if you come in here and you have created a rubric and you check range, this is going to change your rating scale so that it gives you a range between those buckets, right? So right now my range would go, I either have 0, I have 0 to 3, and then I have 3 to 4 and 4 to 5. So what that's going to do in your rubric, let me go ahead and just save this thing.
Share the screen again.
And we'll go to Speedgrader, look at how this plays out for the teacher. So when I click on this, now I have the ranges And it always will default here to the high level, right? So if you're picking 3 to 4, it's going to default to 4. If you're picking 0 to 3, it's going to default to 3. And so I just like making it easy, right? Is it 3 or is it 4? So I don't know. Any other thoughts on ranges there, guys?
I think, to be honest, because maybe potentially the point, it would be standards-based grading, I probably wouldn't do it. Points-based grading, I think potentially you might be able to move that direction and feel comfortable with it.
So I should say, right, like here's what a typical standards-based grading would probably look like, right? 1, 2, 3, or 4. There's no like in-betweeners. It's 1, 2, 3, or 4. But you can come in here, and if you need to adjust this to a manual score here, 4.25, it's gonna use that, and it will indicate where it falls in the range as well. So that may be an instance, a use case if you have percentage points like that. But honestly, I mean that's pretty tedious scoring if you're getting down to that level. If you're asking me.
That was
Great question.
good stuff. All right, Phil, I think you're on deck.
Well, Brad and Chris like to steal some thunder. It's fine.
Sorry, Phil. Sorry, Phil.
It's fine. Everything's fine. I will, my tip is really, and Brad sort of alluded to this, that I think even if you're doing discussions, if they're graded, rubrics are a great way to go. And so this is an example from a staff class that a colleague and I teach together. And for us, it's about participation. They're not really receiving grades for it, but we want to make sure people stay engaged and are having discussions with each other. So we do this, we give them a point for an initial comment if they reply to one other fellow participant in the course, and then a second point or third point if they reply to a different participant. And to Brad's point from earlier, the nice part is in the Speedgrader here is that I can see this individual student's responses and count them real quickly. So it makes it real fast for me to grade discussions, especially in an online professional development course. It helps keep people participating in the course. We find that people who zip through are then sort of forced to come back and revisit those earlier discussions, especially in PD, but this works with students as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be just with, staff members. So there's that. I also want to point out, you may notice, I'm actually in an old course, that this says student 8. And that in the settings here I'm just going to make up stuff, Brad and Chris, this is what's going to happen. Okay.
Go for it. Go for it.
In options, you can hide student names in the Speedgrader, which I think is great sometimes, especially when you're comparing student writing. If you find yourself or your co-teacher might be someone who's like, oh, I don't really think this kid can, and you always start sort of like, it breaks that mental chain of, I'm going to be negative about this. We don't like to say that we're negative, but we have expectations for students, right? And so sometimes it's great to just grade anonymously and not know who's saying what or who's writing what or submitting what. And so then it takes that, that is an option for you there. I will also say, even though I didn't have it prepared because I wasn't thinking that, anyway, use the Tinder of grading, which to me is on the app. Someone mentioned it in the chat. They love iPad grading. I love iPhone grading, or any type of grading on the app itself on our device. Because let me tell you, it is like Tinder. As someone who is on Tinder, a lot of swiping left. But you grade, you swipe left. You grade, you swipe left. So I call it the Tinder of grading because that's exactly what it is. And for me and my co-facilitator for our staff classes, she'll be at a hockey game watching her son play hockey. He's not on the ice. She can sit right there and do something quick. I'm not saying spend all your free time grading, but the app is like really, really great for grading. And my other thing,
hey Phil, what's the name of the app?
Students Who in the grade book, Message Students Who is also in New Analytics. So you can actually message students right from about participation, about weekly online activity. And it's this little cute little envelope, which you think is just going to pop open Gmail or something. It doesn't. You click on it, and I can message students who fall within a certain score range or are missing certain things or are late. I will say the piece that's missing here so far is the observer piece, which appears in the grade book, but observers don't get pulled in to the New Analytics Message Students Who. I do like that. I can't remember, Brad, if you had mentioned that or not. But in the grade book, if the student has a parent observer account attached to them, you can message the observers. Our teachers are using that immensely because I got to tell you, it's a time saver for our teachers. And that's that.
Adding that observer to the message students who was so amazing. I love that they did that.
It is life-changing for our teachers, certainly, and it keeps the communication within the system. It also, I think, draws the parent into Canvas to look at what their student is doing, because then they're in there, they can see, oh, I can see all these things, as a district that maybe has used something else,
Phil,
an unnamed LMS.
Phil, the other thing I love too is on this page in new analytics under the reports, if you're having a conversation with parents, it's nice to kind of have that up and be like, we can kind of see the amount of effort that I've been pushing through the app and that students have been replying to. And you can say, hey, Johnny's been trying, right? Like I got all that. He's trying to get his work done, get it in. I appreciate all that communication he's doing. I even have data that proves he's doing his part. You know what I mean? Like, I just love that to celebrate students.
I love that it brings all the interaction. The new analytics is very cool and it keeps expanding. And I think there's a lot of stuff with data that Canvas is now doing on the admin panel and at the course level that I think is really, really useful for us as a district. It's also really useful if you're a Canvas admin out there, like, hey, I see people aren't using discussions a lot. Maybe discussions is what I need PD on in the district. Maybe I can take that into engagement team and use that with my engagement team and say, hey, we're seeing that students aren't engaging with Canvas. Maybe we should try discussions because our data is showing that they're not using it. So there's a lot of really cool data stuff out there. So I won't get data nerdy.
Hey, Phil, shameless plug in the community too. You can post ideas, suggestions, ways that Canvas can improve. I just did one yesterday for Canvas admins in the admin dashboard. When they go look up a person, a student, their enrollments are like, all the enrollments are smashed together. There's no filtering options. There's no like, what's the live term? And so I put a theme in there. I'll have Chris or whoever throw it in the chat. If you guys will go and like, let's vote this thing up. Let's give it some love and help our admins out.
Yeah. And I think as an example is the announcement for the 217 release about observers being able to make appointments. Mm-hmm. That is going to be huge for those of us who have a different system to schedule parent conferences, I think. And I'm really excited to see what that looks like in February. So they do listen. They're out there listening. They're listening right now, probably.
Hey, and Phil, we have a question that came in, and I'm not 100% sure I understand it. So Jennifer, if you can clarify, you say, is this only available in new analytics, not in gradebook? And I think it was about the messaging students. So maybe clarify just what's available where real quick.
So it's available in both places. The overall grade piece, though, is here in this section here, which it is a little wonky, right? Like we have marking periods. So like there's always like, it's never quite exactly necessarily what you want, but it's a good starting place to message. We have a lot of teachers who use it right from the grade book because it's right there, right? I can see, I can message students who right here, and you can see I have 0 observers here, but scored more than, I don't know, like, hey, you scored more than a point. Congratulations. Kudos to you. And it's as simple as checking that observers box.
And Jennifer clarified her question was messaging students about a range for an average. And that was new analytics, right?
That really does exist only in that new analytics. It's not, you can see here under total, it's not there as an option. So unless someone knows otherwise, and I am unaware. I was also clicking on my screen as if you could see it. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I took it out of the screen. I can add it back.
Sorry.
Phil, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned parents as observers. I know in my district, we invite parents to follow their students. So we have the teacher or the student has to generate the pairing code to get the parent in. What I love about that is once a parent is in, they're always in for their student. So if they follow their student in 5th grade, they're still following their student in high school, and the parent can toggle between every single one of their students, every single one of their classes in one place. But I'm wondering, how do you pair your observers with?
So we switched to we worked with Canvas, and we took our student information system. Parents have portal accounts there, and if a parent has a portal account there, it uses the current, like, hey, a new person got added to we use Infinite Campus. A new parent got added to Infinite Campus. It automatically creates their account in Canvas with the same username that they picked for Infinite Campus. So the two are the same. We have oh, look at Diana. Are we being fancy? I don't know, but we have, and their password is something that is sort of unique to them, but it's a manipulation of some information that they have already entered so that they have an initial password that we can talk about. That's pretty easily. It is really nice to, it's really nice that it's automated. So, but like you said, once they're in once, they are in forever and they follow their kids. And that toggle box is really slick because then they see the dashboard as their kids are seeing the dashboard of their classes. Just keep in mind with the observer accounts, those LTIs, mom and dad don't have a school Google account, so they can't see this. They can't see the Google assignment. Okay. Like, so that's how that works.
Or like if you have a textbook integration,
right.
they're not going to see
any one of those things.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that's looking for the kids login to get in or a teacher login to get in isn't going to be shown. But once they turn it in, if they're turning it in to this, like the Google assignment in LTI 1.3, if they turn it into Speedgrader, they'll see what the kid turned in that static mode. But observer accounts are really game changing, and that appointment group thing is going to be cool, I think.
Here's a question that popped up.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Oh,
yep, everyone takes that.
Is there a possibility of 2 due dates? So one that they have to post by Wednesday, right? And then you need to reply to somebody by, that's kind of clever. There's not that I know of. Sean, any hacks on that? Yeah. Nope.
The only thing I would think is if you had a due date, but then you could also make it available until. I mean, it's not exactly what you're asking for, but at least it would still be available of that if the main part of your points comes from posting by the due date, then they could access it for a couple more days beyond.
And they can, I would suggest go to Canvas community. We'll put a link in the chat. Submit that. That's a great idea. I see a ton of not just online, schools using it, but you guys are all nodding your heads like we're in schools. That would be helpful, right? It's a management piece. This is a learning management system, and so the whole point is to make teachers' lives easier. So I love the idea. I'd vote it up.
What I do, my workaround is I just change the due date. So after the initial post, and my rubric is a 2-point rubric, submitted, not submitted, and then I change it, to 1-point rubric that they submitted on the first one, and then I add a second line that they commented. But it is kind of cumbersome, so yeah, let's vote that one up.
Yeah.
And I see in the chat, if Aaron and Jasmine say it's awesome, then we know it's awesome.
Kristen just gave us a link, actually. I'm monitoring our Slack too. She's got one here in Canvas Ideas already. So I will put that in the comments.
Thanks, Kristen.
That's definitely one to vote up. I get that question all the time from my teachers.
All right, that's a great one. Well, Jessica, I think you're up.
Ready for me to share your screen? Please. Thank you. All right, everybody. Hi. So to cross list or not to cross list. So cross listing, what is it? If you are teaching multiple classes and they're all as separate courses on your dashboard, but you're giving the same content, it's easy to cross list and put those into one course. So you are not doing double the work. Again, about saving you a little bit extra time, right? Now, it just depends. In some districts, some schools, you may already have them cross-listed. We made the decision for St. Lucie County to have that automatically done for them. So our teachers, if they teach multiple sections of the same course, it all populates in one. However, if you don't have that already done for you, you guys have the ability to do this in your courses. And it's pretty simple. You can take a look at any of your courses inside your settings. If you pop into your settings and sections, you can click on any section in here and you'll have this cross list section option. And then you can pick whichever course you want to cross list into. Code. So 2 things. You can do it by your course name, Or if you have the course's ID number, you can drop that in here and it will cross-list it into here. And then it'll take everything and move it over. The only key point I have to mention with that is you're going to want to do this before you publish your courses, because any content, any assignments that have been completed, it does not cross over with the sections. So just keep that in mind, because that's pretty crucial. I had a teacher once cross-list stuff, and she was like, nothing came over, none of the work came over. And I'm like, we have to do it before you publish, because that won't come over. Oh. Okay, the last thing that, sorry guys, this decided to have some fun today. There you go. The last thing I kind of wanted to just mention a little bit about is talking about how to decide which item to use in Canvas. And I did this because I had a lot of questions coming from teachers about like, hey, how do I know which one to pick? So I kind of made this little flowchart graphic for my teachers to kind of make it easy. Like, hey, what do I pick? Like, which should I use? And it kind of just started at the top with how would they be interacting with it, or if they're interacting with what they're doing. And it kind of just followed that path. And I got a lot of feedback saying, hey, this was the best thing ever, because now I knew which item I should be creating in my course. So I thought it was just something pretty neat, and it has worked out to my benefit. I have changed it a little bit. I think it's time I update it a little bit more now. But yeah, this is probably one of the best features that I have, and I would be more than happy to share this with everybody. So we'll get a link for that and share it with you guys. See, I was quick. Mine was pretty quick over here, guys. But just a couple of tips about cross-listing and using which tools to use.
Hey, Jessica. So not everyone may have access, right, to cross-listing?
Correct. So that's a thing. Not everybody has access. If you don't have access, then you're going to want to reach out to your Canvas admin, because they will have to be able to turn that feature on for you or not.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, that's great. I know our courses come in cross-listed, but then every once in a while we get something else that like maybe it's a slightly different level that the teacher says, I just want to kind of give everybody the same content. So we love cross-listing.
And we have that too. Like for ours do come in cross-listed, but we have some off courses like that and some of our electives sometimes that don't, and they do need to be cross-listed because everything comes in based on a course code for us. So it's a slightly different course code, but it's still the same thing. So that's what we do. So the key thing that I've always mentioned is pretty much make sure that it's before you publish your course. That's my biggest thing.
Yes, because that's kind of what this comment right here addresses. Empty courses don't win, because if you cross-list after there's content in there, panic ensues because people don't see what they saw before.
And let me add to that. When you cross-list a course, you actually are cross-listing a section. You're actually taking the people section out. The course itself actually still continues to live. It just doesn't have any people in it. The content itself lives in the course, and assignments, submissions will all stay in this course. We had some cases where our teachers had cross-listed stuff mid-year, freaking out because the assignments that were submitted for the semester, I mean, they're all gone. We're at the end of the semester. And so, no, it's okay. Those courses, the content still lives. It's back in a course. You can bring those people back into that course, get the content, download, do what you need to. So just know that you're actually cross-listing sections. Courses and sections are two separate objects that can, that interplay with each other. So
cross-listing has actually come in really handy for us sometimes, also because if a teacher changes grade levels or moves or something like that, or has to be moved over, they want to, or we have a sub that comes in, we want to be able to pull that same content back over, or put the students back into their original course in essence. So that's come in really handy. I've had people call me and freaking out, oh my God, I lost, everything's gone. The kids went in today and it was gone. We just need to go back and cross-list it. But no, it's not there. But it's definitely something. I saw that pop up about cross-list with caution. Yeah, definitely just keep an eye on it. However, the benefit to that is the course is never lost. So the course is always there. So you can always come back and find the original course. An admin would have to find it.
And I would add to that.
Teachers, you can't break it. We can always kind of go back and fix it. We can find it. It's okay.
Correct. That's what I tell all my teachers. They're like, I don't want to do. I'm like, do it. I promise. You can't break Canvas. Though I did learn something new this weekend. I had one of my curriculum developers decided to max out the character count on a page at over 610,000. And I got a phone call at 10:30 at night. Oh my God, this is not working. What happened? Well, you maxed out the character count on a page. So we're going to redo this.
And I would even say we put a new not policy, but just a new procedure in place at the beginning of the year with a lot of drop adding. And sometimes we have an influx of kids and we need to open a new section of something after our teachers have cross-listed and started building, that now we actually have a stopgap so that the counseling department, if they're adding something new to the schedule, have to contact one of us to go through and make sure that they're not getting rid of the section or dissolving the section that is the course, to Brad's point, that all the sections are tied to, because we had that happen at the beginning of last year and we were like, where did then and trying to undo that. It's just easier if we can prevent it. We know you're going to do it. Let's just prepare for it. And then it just makes life a little bit easier so we can get that content.
Yeah.
If that course is the one that's getting dissolved, move the content first and then deal with cross-listing.
Definitely a great recommendation. Even we've, talking to our data specialist sometimes is like, hey, FYI, if you do it this way versus this way, you can save a little heartache from some teachers.
Yep.
See the question across the bottom. Does anybody have an answer for that one?
Yeah, I was going to speak to it. So essentially on the back end, right? So depending on how, and this is going to, your answer, Laura, is going to be different. And it's going to depend on how your integration is set up with your SIS and all of those things. But typically you'll have an integration number that's separate than these other numbers here. You also want to look at, are you looking at your section ID? There's going to be a course ID. There's going to be a section ID. And so again, just like we're talking about, the courses are separate than sections. And so we're cross-listing sections into courses. You may want to have your Canvas admins look at how they're, which ID they're using when they're pulling that data over. So obviously we need to be able to solve it, on a call, on a live YouTube, but that's where I would start looking.
Okay. Well, I think I'm next, and somebody just put this in the comments, and this is one that, any quick tip for somebody. If you accidentally delete something goes away. This is the best kept secret, or, not official tip for Canvas, is that you can do the / and undelete from your homepage. And a lot of times you can find something that went missing.
Why is that not a button, Canvas, if you're watching? Instructure, if you're what? Just give us a button in the settings of the course. Just give us, okay.
Okay. I'm going to go really quickly. I had one quick, simple tip to share because it saves me massive amounts of time. And for me, it's that importance of knowing, did you know every single course has that unique number? Brad was just speaking of that. But a lot of times I'll get a teacher that says, well, it's in my 5th hour class, or it's in my social studies class. And I'm like, great. There are 17,527 courses in our instance. So if you can tell somebody that course number, which if you are in your homepage, it's the last, in our case right now, it's 5 digits. But if you can give your admin, or even if you're copying content and importing and you have a list to pick from, if you know that course number and you type it in, it's going to bring up that specific course every single time. There's no guesswork. That course number is game changer for me. So that was my quick tip to add to the plate today. And then there was one yet to present, and I think it's the one a lot of us have been waiting for. So Sean?
Goodness, no. Let's see. All right, there's my screen. So I'm going to go a little bit out of order from our document here, and I'm going to start with, suppose I have a page. This page looks horrible. We're gonna tidy it up a little bit. And so I have this that I've been working on, and I want to send it to one of my colleagues, or I want to put it in one of my other courses. Maybe this is a sandbox I'm working in and I'm developing it, and I want to push it out to a different course. So a couple of things that you can do in the kebab icon over here, you can click on copy to and start typing out your course. And so if I were to say, maybe it's IO, I don't have IO 5. Oh, this is my I'm gonna hop into my actual institution here, and because that was my Free for Canvas account that I was in. All right, so I have this page here. It has a little interaction that I created. I want to send that to somewhere, so I'm gonna go copy to, and I'm just gonna put it in my sandbox. So I start typing my name. Here's my sandbox, and then I can click copy, and it's going to push it to that course. And I can even get more specific if I want to put it in a specific module. Suppose I want to put it in my parallax module. Then I can copy it to the parallax module. But even then, that module has a few pages in it. Maybe I want it to be at the top of the module or the bottom or before or after one of the specific pages in the module. So I can click on that, copy it, and it's going to copy all of the content. Now, if there's an image on here, it'll copy the image, or any kind of media, whatever material, it'll copy it to that new course. And so you can either send that to one of your other courses or a colleague or, you know, your team member. Another thing you can do, suppose I want to send this to somebody specifically and just give it to them, not necessarily put it in one of their courses. I can click on send to, and then you just start typing out their name. And so if I type Sean, there's a few Seans in my institution, so I'll specify me. I happen to have 3 accounts in my instance, and so then I'll click on that. I can click on more people and then click send, and I'll go ahead and send this to myself, and it will take a moment. Might have to refresh the page a couple of times, but you notice in my account, if I expand this, there's a 1 right there. There's something that wants my attention. So when I click on account, shared content has a 1. And so then I can see that somebody shared this. It happens to be a page. It could be an assignment, a discussion topic. It could be one of these things. Pretty much only myself shares with myself for the purposes of these kinds of demonstrations. It's pending. I haven't received it quite yet, but when I do, then I would be able to click on that. I'm going to mark that this one is unread, and then I can import it, and I can put it. It's the same process that I just showed you. I can type in a course number, and I can drop it right into one of my courses or multiple one of my courses, and I could put it in my module, or if it's a sandbox, I could just put it in the sandbox. And so great way to easily share content that you've created, either with a person or put it into a specific course.
Hey, Sean, since you said you're sharing a lot with yourself, question for you. One, I'll be your friend and I'll send you some stuff. But are there restrictions on doing something like that? Like if I'm in my own account and you're in your own account, can you share across 2 different Canvas instances?
I've never even tried that. I think you would have to be in your same instance. And so if you wanted to share with somebody outside of your instance, then I think you would probably want to go to Commons or download it like in settings and export it as like a package, and then they could import it as a package. Probably Canvas, like as I'm saying that, I think Canvas Commons would be the easiest way, which I'm not really going to go into, but that's a whole nother thing you can explore. You can spend half an hour exploring what is Canvas Commons, and that's a good way, I think, to share institution.
Yep. Thanks.
Cool. So I have this page. It's kind of gammy, not much, but I'm going to do some editing, looking at the clock. And I know this is recorded, so if I talk a little fast to get through this, then know that you can go back and slow me down. A lot of people tell me that on my YouTube channel, they slow me down to like 0.75 or whatever, and then I sound like I'm drunk or something, but do what you need to do. So we're going to look at horizontal rules, which is this line right here to distinguish content. I think those are useful. I use them on several of my pages. If I want to break up content, then I can put a hard space right there. You can go to insert. At the bottom here is a horizontal line. And what that looks like in HTML, if you click the HTML editor, it's just this little bit of code, which is HR space / inside of the angled brackets. That's all a horizontal rule is. But what a lot of people don't know is that if you hop into the HTML editor, there's a lot of formatting that you can do with horizontal rules. And so I have some code right here that, whoa, that was fun. I have some code right here. I'm going to format this HR and make it a little bit different. Before I do that, let's look at what could this be. So style means I'm adding some CSS, which means I'm designing the page. The HR is the HTML. It's just telling the website, in this case, the Canvas page, that I want a line to be there. And then the style is saying, here's how I want that line to be. And so I put a border top is my code, and I will be able to share this page with you in the comments here. I want it to be 5 pixels thick. By default, it's 1 pixel thick and it's like gray and it's solid. I want to make a different horizontal line. I want it to be thicker. I want it to be dotted instead of straight. And I want it to be a specific color, which you can get colors online, or you could just say like red or something. And so how I'm going to do that is I'm going to go inside this HR tag, and I'm going to just paste, since I, oops. Yeah, I'll just do that. So I'll paste that style that I just copied, and I don't need this one. So style equals quotation marks, and inside the quotation marks, I have this property, border top, 5 pixels, dotted, and a color. So I'm going to save it, and we're going to see what that looks like now. So now you can see, instead of that thin gray 1 pixel line, now it's still gray because that's the color I chose, but I also want it to be 5 pixels thick, and I want it to be dotted instead of solid. Let's take that other HR, and we're going to kind of go crazy just for the sake of having fun. I'm going to type this up by scratch. We're going to go style border / top, and it could be border bottom too. It doesn't really matter. We're going to make this like crazy 25 pixels, and I'll make it solid again, and we'll make it red. And yeah, I'll go ahead and save that. So now I can see a different HR. And so you can customize that with your own, whatever thickness you want. I'll go ahead and actually not this page. I have another page. This is a free for teachers, where I have various examples of different things that you can do with HRs. You can make them dashed. You can make them dotted. You can make them dotted with a background color. You can have, I mentioned border top. You can also do border bottom, and you can do them at the same time. So you can have like 2 lines as your HR with different colors, and have a lot of fun with that. And so I'm going to put this in the chat, in the YouTube chat right there, in case you want to explore some of that. So in my last 3 minutes, let me share, if I think it's time to wrap up. I'm going to share a video, YouTube video, to talk about margins, paddings, borders, and floating images. And so I'll do an overview. I have this image right here, and this is what a lot of our pages look like. You drop an image, and then the text goes right underneath it. But maybe you want a border. And so I'm going to take this style. I'm going to copy this right here, and we're going to put that into the image that I have. So and put a few spaces just so that we can see that this is my image. That's that panda. It's IMG. Canvas puts in some filler. I can, for the sake of clarity, I can delete some of these. I'll delete the alt text, maybe keep the width. It's going to put it back in there, but just so that it's simple, I have an image, and then the source of the image, I uploaded it to Canvas, and so that's just the website for the source. And anywhere, you could put it at the end or at the beginning. I always put it at the beginning. I'm going to put this style. We're going to put a border, and it could either be dashed or solid. Let's do dashed. It'll be orange. I'm also going to put some padding and some margin, and we're going to float it to the left. All right, so we talked about the border properties over here. The thickness, what kind of border is it? Is it solid? Is it dashed? Is it dotted? What kind of color? And so I have the same thing right here. I'm putting a border around the picture, and then I'm putting some padding. And padding and margin is different because you can see, here's the image. The padding is this space, this white space in between the border and the image. It's kind of like saying, here's the border, here's my thing, but I want there to be some breathing room inside of that. Margin is kind of the opposite. I have my border right here, and it's saying, I want to push some of this content away and give it some breathing room. So padding is on the inside, and margin is on the outside. Now, even if you don't have an actual border, the principles of padding and margin are the same. So so this might be invisible, but there's still going to be that space between the invisible line for padding and the space on the outside. And now you notice I floated it to the, let me go back here. So I floated it to the left, and what that did is it brought all this text up to the side of the image. Instead of having the image and all the text on the bottom, it makes it for a cleaner page, I think, that I don't need a bunch of white space on the right of my image. I want the text to go up there. And so that's why I float it to the left. Now, if I were to float it to the right, take a wild guess at what that would look like. I'm going to float it to the right, and all of a sudden the text is coming up to the left because it's floating off to the right. And I know this is our time, so my last thing that I'll mention is if you float it to the right, you don't need a margin around everything, but I would put a margin at least to the left of maybe 20 pixels so that the words don't go right up against the image. And if you put the image floating to the left, you'll want to have some margin on the right so that the words don't come right up against it. And I'll show you what that means. If I go left and I take out all of the padding and margin and save it, you'll see that it's a little bit uncomfortable. All those words are really close, and you know, this panda is an introvert. It needs a little bit of space. And so you can remedy that by either putting a margin all the way around, or, and I didn't even really talk about this, but you can specify, I want a margin only on the right, and I want that to be 25 pixels or whatever, 20 pixels. And so it's not going to put margin to the left or the bottom or the top, but it is going to put a little bit to the right, and that just feels better. That just looks a little bit better. And so those are my tips, and we're a minute past the hour. So thank you for letting me borrow 1 minute past what we committed to.
We should give you like 5-6 minutes. Diana, you're on mute. We should give you like 5-6 minutes, Sean. Like I love it.
Absolutely. I was madly taking notes all while several of you were talking because there were little nuggets that I just hadn't quite remembered. So, well, as they said, we've hit our hour. We are going to wrap it up, but maybe we'll be back again sometime with some other tips. So if there's something that you're wanting to know, reach out to one of us. Let us know, and we can put one of these together again and come back and see what we can share. So have a great day and see you soon.